Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Choco Taco. Today we've got Norman, developer of A Frog's Tale.
Hello, Choco. Thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
So, A Frog's Tale, for those of you that don't know, is a game that is coming out soon. It just had a successful Kickstarter campaign. Is that right?
Correct. Kickstarter is still live as of the recording of this. We are live until July 11th. Our goal was $60,000 USD. We're currently sitting at around 75,000, so working our way towards stretch goal number 2 currently. It's been amazing so far. Really, really pleased with the response. Dream come true.
So, when you were developing Frog's Tale, what's like your goal for the game?
Well, I have a lot of goals. I think a lot of people that play games kind of have an idea of, their dream game where they take bits and pieces of this game that they like. Maybe this game didn't do a few things that they didn't really like, so we'll take a few systems from this other game. So, I'm one of those people that have a very particular style of game that I like. I love pixel art. I love top-down pixel art graphics like old Zelda games, old RPGs, Mario RPGs, the Paper Mario games, Mario and Luigi games. I love a lot of different things about all those games. So for me, the goal was to combine, bits and pieces from my favorite games in a way that makes sense. When you're designing a game and doing it that way, you kind of realize why certain games have certain systems in place. You can't really just pick your favorite things a la carte style and throw it together in a game. You have to kind of make cohesive decisions about why things are in the game. Um, so that's the goal for me, is make something to my tastes, and it seems like a lot of other people out there have similar taste in games where we want top-down pixel art style game. I love turn-based RPGs, so having a little bit more to do outside of battle than just walk around was really important. Kind of a long-winded answer here, but mainly the
All
goal
good.
was just to make something for myself, and other people seem to be into that idea as well.
Yeah, I think when you develop like a game or a story or anything, uh, making something that you enjoy will come across and will make other people tend to also enjoy.
Yeah, I mean that's what's cool about indie games, right? Is you're not really beholden to executive decision as much. You can kind of do things that you want to do, and especially when you're as grassroots as I am, I got really nobody to say what I can and can't do. It's the team's all looking to me for answers about game design decisions, which is a
So
little freaky sometimes because I'm a new developer, right?
yeah,
So a lot of times, like, team is looking to me for answers. I don't know if I'm necessarily making like the right game design decision, especially when it's making a creative decision against a deadline, right? You only have a certain amount of days to figure out how a gameplay system works. Then it's set in stone. Then you're spending a bunch of money to implement that. What if you have a better idea 6 months down the line? It's like too bad, you know?
yeah, it's a bit scary in that way. But I feel like from the way that the Kickstarter comes across, it feels like there's a lot of meat to it already.
Yeah, that's a it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? It's trying to make an expensive game when you add a bunch of meat and a bunch of gameplay systems. It's kind of exponential. You add one thing and it has to interact with every other system that's in place. So we have you play as the frog and you have 5 different playable partner characters that all have a skill. So it's like every enemy that we put in the game, we have to account for at least 6 interactions, 7, I guess, jumping, sword, and then all the 5 partner abilities, right? So
Wow.
it's a lot of things to think about, and it's like a team with more experience than me. I've been thinking about my game since 2017, and I kind of have an idea of how I want it to play in my head, but I will come to the team with some of my ideas and they'll hit me with 50 questions that I hadn't considered yet, which is funny considering how much time I've had to think about all these things, right?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of times like you get it in your head that everything has to be a certain way. And then, sometimes you don't really know what you want.
Oh, totally. And yeah, you don't really know how much each feature costs to implement, right? Which is why it's nice to have a team that has some experience. A lot of my team members are ex Ubisoft guys, so
Oh wow.
worked on like Prince of Persia games, you know, finished completed games, brought them to market, and kind of know what it takes to do that. So I feel very fortunate to have that sort of guidance rather than a bunch of hobbyists trying to like, you know, build a project that's held together by rubber bands or whatever.
Yeah. So that's cool. So this is like the whole initial idea was all you, right?
Yeah, so I talk about this a little bit in the Kickstarter campaign, but I'm a EDM DJ. I'm a music producer, so I've been doing that for like 10 years now, just playing live shows. And A Frog's Tale started as a like a mock-up game soundtrack because I remember like when I was getting into making electronic music right away, I would show people my stuff and they'd be like, "Oh, dude, this sounds like a Mario song or something." And at the time, I'm like, "It's not what I'm going for, man. I want like, I want you to say, wow, this sounds like a cool dubstep banger, not this sounds like a Mario tune, right?"
Yeah.
So it was a little frustrating starting off, and then as I kept producing music, you know, I love video games, so I try to kind of merge that video gamey sound with a more club danceable, you know, electronic music sound. Um, so my latest project before I went all in on Frog's Tale was like a mock-up game soundtrack for a game that doesn't exist called A Frog's Tale. I was branding my EDM project after the frog character. So I was like searching for artists just to draw up the character, make like album artwork for this fake game. And as I was writing songs for it, I'm like, okay, it sounds like a character theme. Maybe this sounds like kind of like a royal, you know, I was like writing the music with very little direction and then kind of coming up with a purpose for it after. And over time, I kind of came up with like musical rules that I'd follow. So like I'm only using these instruments and like these are my drum sounds and these are the rules I'm following when I'm writing songs so that it's a more cohesive soundtrack and they all, you know, it all kind of sounds like it belongs together. And over time, um, just kind of putting together the game in my head based on the songs that I had. It's like I have an overworld theme, I have a village theme, I have a dungeon theme. Kind of have everything I need here to start making the visuals. So a big part of getting shifting the project from like a music project to a video game project was like convincing professionals that even though I'm a new developer and I don't know what I'm doing, that I'm worth working, I'm worth your time to invest in, right? So here's
Yeah.
a 30 song soundtrack that I made that's all really high quality video game music. Here's some ideas for locations and like characters and stuff. Can you please draw these for me? And Cherry, my artist, drew an amazing piece that really defined the art style of Norman the Frog in Carrow Pond with the bee chasing after him. I cannot explain how important that singular piece of artwork is because it's like she read my mind and knew exactly the type of game that I was trying to make, or at least visually what I was trying to go for, and nailed it. Right, like these cute characters that have a sense of like a more serious story behind them. Um, I don't know, she nailed that. So from there, I was able to take that really, really good concept illustration and take that to the best pixel artist I could find and be like, hey, here's this cool piece of artwork. Can you translate this into a top-down pixel art style and do some animations for me? And he was like, oh, cool. Yeah, it seems like a cool project. And that was Thomas Lean, the pixel artist. He nailed it and established the pixel art style that you see in the game today. Um, he is too busy to like work on the game full time or be like our actual art director. And I think at the time when I was like asking him to help, he had experience working on games. So I have a sense that he knew that I was kind of in over my head, right? Because I
Yeah.
was asking him to commit to this project at that early stage, and he was like, "Yeah, no." Um, and I agree. You know, looking back, I agree with him. It would have been foolish to like commit to me, a new dev, and it's kind of been like an uphill battle like that for the whole time. So like a year ago, we were pitching our demo to different publishers and stuff, right? And the demo doesn't look as good as the trailer that we presented for Kickstarter recently. And it didn't feel that good to play because we ran out of money. It's like we can only do so much with development, and then you run out of money, and it's like, what do you do? We kind of have to pitch at that moment so that
Yeah.
we can get more money to keep making the game. I don't blame publishers for saying no because the game didn't look good, it didn't feel good. I'm a new developer asking for a shitload of money, right?
Yeah.
But now I've had a lot of time to put together that trailer and show people like a way more complete vision of the game. And the fact that the Kickstarter is doing well, we've had some publisher interest again after launching the Kickstarter. Very validating, to say the least. It's
Yeah, I
good.
feel like the Kickstarter is just tremendously well put together, like in
Thank you.
terms of the layout and everything.
Yeah, there were a few campaigns that we looked at really closely when we were putting together that information. Mina the Hollower was a really successful recent campaign. Anton Blast is a really good campaign to look at that was recent. And a lot of, like, when I was doing research on Kickstarter campaigns, a lot of them follow the same kind of template that we did. So really is, just doing research, following the campaigns that are successful. You look at a million Kickstarter projects, 10 of them are successful. You can kind of get a sense of why they're successful. They got all their ducks in a row. Trailer looks great. Team seems like they know what they're talking about, right?
Yeah. So A Frog's Tale, it's kind of got this mix between the top-down Zelda-like and the sort of Mario and Luigi combat style.
Yeah.
So do you think those two elements kind of fit?
Um, are you saying like having as much puzzle solving outside of battle and then having like a complex combat system as well on top of that?
Well, do you kind of try to make it so that it's like half of the RPG side and half of the Zelda side, or do you?
Yeah, totally. Because it's not like we didn't mention Zelda in the inspirations for the game for a reason, right? You mentioned Zelda, all of a sudden you're getting compared to a Zelda game.
Yeah,
I don't think we can make a better Zelda game than the Zelda team, obviously, right? So there's a reason we didn't mention that. I don't know if we can necessarily make a better Mario and Luigi game than the Mario and Luigi team, but there's not a lot of games that point to Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga as a big inspiration. At least that I've seen. A lot of people point to Paper Mario. A lot of people point to Zelda. So for me, I think the Mario and Luigi games strike a really good balance of puzzle solving that isn't as intense as a Zelda game and turn-based combat that isn't as intense as something like, a Final Fantasy. It's I call them
yeah.
baby's first RPG. So it's kind of like a baby's first RPG mixed with a baby's first Zelda game. That's what I would call it.
There's this game, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like witches, something about witches like going to school. I don't know if you know that one.
Is it recent?
Um, I just cannot think of the name. I think it was like a couple of years ago.
Okay. Is it pixel art?
Yeah, it's pixel art. Sorry about that. But anyways, that game I liked a lot. I'll have to tell you. I'll look it up after this.
Yeah, no worries.
But so it started out as a song. So you kind of did you design the areas like based around how the songs like how you saw them?
Mm, yeah, I mean, I think like writing, there's a lot of cliches that exist in video game soundtrack music, right? Like a steel drum is in every beach song pretty much, or like a sitar is in every desert theme, um, or like a sleigh bell is in every snow area. So for me, I kind of try, I mean, cliches exist for a reason. They're really effective, obviously. But I tried to do my best to capture moods without using those cliches. So, like, we have a few winter themes. We have like a winter field, and then a winter village, and then a nighttime winter village. And we purposefully didn't use a sleigh bell.
Nice.
Um, for me, it was trying to like exercise creativity and just it was a portfolio building project to be able to showcase my range in songwriting, right? So wanted to do like boss themes that sound menacing, village themes that sound nice and welcoming, uh, character themes that sound epic, and so many moods that you can hit with music, and that was really the point for me with writing all those songs, is just like trying to capture really strong moods with really confident melodies and such.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot because like in games, like right now I'm thinking about like Undertale when you get to the
Yeah.
snow level and it
Yep.
starts playing and you're just like, "Oh my gosh." It just fits so perfectly and kind of Ocarina of Time with the fire temple
Yeah.
where it's got the that menacing beat and it's got the lava and the sound effects. There's something about video games and like video game music in particular that can just make you feel like you're somewhere, you know?
Yeah, it really puts you in a place, and the best composers are so good at doing that in ways that are really unexpected, right? Like, obviously, Koji Kondo has like a style that he follows, but my goodness, how do you write so many iconic tracks for one game? You know, Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time is insane. I don't. It's insane, and like Mitsuda with the Chrono Trigger soundtrack, it all kind of has this really cohesive, dreamlike sound to it. All the songs kind of follow these rules and have really similar chord changes. And when you hear a song from the Chrono Trigger soundtrack, you might not know it's from the Chrono Trigger soundtrack until you hear that one chord change, and you're like, "Oh, okay, this is Mitsuda that did this clearly."
Yeah. It's like a
So
signature.
exactly. So trying to find like little signature things that are in almost every song, but used in different ways. So like, I'm posting a Kickstarter update tomorrow that has three different songs that all use the same melody. So we have like an exploration area, a village theme, and then a dungeon theme that are all the same melody, but the mood of each track is completely different.
Yeah. I'm thinking like the song of Healing Backwards is what is it, Zelda's Lullaby?
Yeah, yeah. So
I love stuff like that.
that those Zelda soundtracks, the Ocarina ones, and Majora's Mask are really really cool exercise in limitations because they're all in the same key. The Ocarina can only play what 5 notes or whatever.
Yeah.
So all those songs are constructed out of those 5 notes, all those melodies, and that to me is like such a cool thing. And the fact that like music is used in an interesting gameplay feature, like with the Ocarina. What good game design! I love those games. Obviously, such a huge inspiration.
Yeah, I'm thinking like in terms of pixel art cuz sometimes limitations can create, amazing stuff.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of modern pixel art games that cheat in a little bit. I'm not like a pixel purist by any means, but if we look at like Dead Cells, right, it's 3D renders that are ran through like a low resolution, so it looks like pixel art. A lot of games doing similar things where it's like they want the pixel art aesthetic, but they don't want to put in the work to hand animate everything. And to me, it doesn't have the same charm.
Yeah.
Um, so it's I don't know. Like to me, the one restriction that's important as far as pixel art, I don't really care about color count or like frame count limitations. Like I love smooth animations, but one thing I cannot stand in pixel art is when pixels are moving between pixels. Like they don't move in whole pixel increments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, subpixels.
Yeah, like it doesn't respect the pixel resolution that it's portraying with, and at that point, it's like, why are we even using pixels then? If it's not moving in whole pixel increments, I don't know. It feels like it's just like tapping into nostalgia without purpose.
Yeah.
So that's like the one restriction that's important to me, is making sure that things move in whole pixel increments, and we are paying a lot of money to make sure that everything maintains pixel perfection in that sense.
All
It's
right.
a lot more challenging than I thought it would be in today's
Yeah.
day and age.
So for like completionists, is there like a lot of quests and items and stuff?
So we're still nailing down the scope of the game. The team is constantly bugging me to be like, listen, how many of this do we have? How many of this do we have? What is and I don't. It's hard to answer those questions when we don't know how much money we're gonna have, and when I don't know how much certain features cost, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I have the ultimate game design in my head that I want to make. It just kind of depends if we're able to get the funding to do that. As far as completionist things, lots of side quests with NPCs that are really just reward you with nice story moments, some equipment and such here and there. We'll talk more about equipment in future Kickstarter updates, but essentially it works kind of like Kingdom Hearts, where each character can find weapons to equip. Weapons give you status upgrades, and there's no like armor or anything that you're wearing. You know, you can't like switch out your gloves or switch out your uh, helmet or whatever, but you do find accessories. So you have weapons and you have accessories. And then also, like Kingdom Hearts, we have different outfits per area.
Oh, cool.
So if you go to the snow area, you're gonna the first time you go there, there'll be a little cutscene about why you get your little snow, your winter outfits and such. Um, but yeah, the outfits are kind of locked to each location in that sense. Which because we're doing hand animated pixel art, each outfit that we add, you know, a character has 1,000 frames of animation. You add one outfit, that's another 1,000 frames. Because to me, like making each piece of clothing like react appropriately to each animation is important, right? Like I don't want to
Yeah.
just stick a cowboy hat asset on top of their head and then have it move with the like it has to flop when you're running appropriately
Yeah.
in my mind.
That good stuff.
Exactly.
I just
So
want to say I real
completionist,
Oh, sorry, what were you
um
gonna say?
just like completionist and like what it takes to beat the game. We do have kind of in the same aspect as like the Chrono Trigger character side quests. We do have our partner characters, 5 of them that we meet on our journey, and they each have their own kind of self-contained story that is optional if you want to do their like little character quest. And the idea is to have multiple endings depending on how many of those characters like story you complete. So like
Oh, that's
Marty the
cool.
Turtle, for instance, his whole story is just about trying to find any other turtle because no one else in this world has seen any turtles before, so no one really knows what he is or where he came from.
Wow.
So will we find another turtle on the journey? I don't know. We'll have to play and find out.
Ooh. That actually makes me a bit hyped. I want to reunite the Turtle Brethren.
Yeah, there you go.
So I was gonna say earlier, I really like the main character design with just the simple scarf.
Yeah, it's I'm not a character designer by any means, so I reached out to people that I knew had experience doing that, and having each of the main cast kind of have their one defining accessory or whatever that they have. They're all really simple character designs, right? Like it's a frog with a blue bandana, it's a turtle with a red hat, it's a bat with a pink bow. Like they're all really simple and almost kind of cliche, but it's easy to remember. It's recognizable. They're strong and they're cute character designs. Like I appreciate you saying that. I think
Yeah.
my character designers knocked it out of the park because I sent them references that were kind of like, you know, I like Animal Crossing style proportions with the big heads and like the little arms and legs and kind of chubby bodies.
Yeah.
And I always thought it'd be like I love RPGs when they have like the one animal character, right? Like Frog and Chrono Trigger obviously had a huge impact on I still think Frog is like the coolest video game character ever, but there's so many RPGs that have like the one animal partner or party member, and I love that. So I'm like, you know, not doing any humans, we're just doing all animals.
I always thought it would be so cool if you could have like a Moogle sidekick in Kingdom Hearts.
Dude, yeah, Moogles are great. And it's like, um, I don't know, designing like a strictly animal world is kind of an interesting challenge, you know, because it's like clearly all the animals are rooted in reality. These are animals that actually exist, but you have to think in really like you have to do a lot of fantasy problem solving to kind of do like believable world building, right?
Yeah.
So like fishing is a huge part in every RPG. I want to have a village of fish underwater, so we can't really have fishing
Yeah.
at least at least for fish because I don't want to be you know animal on animal violence where we're
Yeah.
hooking fish by the lips or whatever.
Oh
So
no.
how do we how do we have something that feels like fishing that doesn't involve hurting another animal, right?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking like Luck Be a Landlord, so in that game you can kill humans with like other humans. but you can't kill animals because the dev says that there's no cute animal murder.
Oh, I like that. Well, I don't know if there's cute human murder either, but
Human murder is okay.
I guess Babality from Mortal Kombat is pretty cute, right?
Uh,
Babality.
what's that one?
Turn your opponent into a baby.
Oh, I thought it
It's like
was
a
like turn
special.
them into a babe. Like,
That'd be good too.
oh yeah, rhythm combat system. So right now I'm kind of just turning through the Kickstarter. So it's kind
Yeah, so
of
um that was hugely. I mean, obviously, I was touching on how I produce music for my entire life, but my most recent playthrough of Mario and Luigi, um, it seemed like such an obvious choice because the
yeah,
battle music is so good. Everyone's like dancing in their idol poses, right? And like to me, in those games, you have the bros attacks, which are like the more complex, multi. Both of the Mario and Luigi are doing, flipping off of
yeah,
each
the
other, and you got to
multi
make
hit
sure
with
that.
the shell bounce.
I don't think personally that game does a very good job of telling you exactly when to hit the button.
Oh, especially with the fire flower one. I had no idea what to do there.
Exactly. So like that was my main gripe with the game is like I felt like I was doing those moves wrong every time, and I
Yeah,
couldn't figure out. And maybe I was doing them right. I really don't know. I don't think the feedback was very good, or if it was good, it didn't really matter if you performed the moves well enough. The dodging in that game is amazing. Like the dodging and blocking, how
yeah,
dynamic that is really cool. Um, but yeah, I always felt like the attacks could be juicier, could be better telegraphed. And I found myself like tapping my thumb on my Game Boy or whatever when I was playing that game.
yeah,
So I'm like, man, it would be really satisfying if all these moves landed on a beat of the music and I was jamming as hard as I am now, but it had gameplay implications.
yeah. So do you play much of rhythm games?
Yeah, so I grew up playing a bunch of DDR. I was at the arcade all the time. I wasn't very good, but I loved playing it. Recently, the game that I mean, I wanted to do a rhythm RPG thinking about UI design, right? Like all these rhythm games are basically the same thing. You're pressing buttons to the beat of the music or doing some action to the beat of the music. The only major difference is uh, how it's presented visually to the player, right? It's like
Yeah,
either these buttons are all scrolling horizontally, vertically. I played Hatsune Miku Project Diva at a gaming convention, and like that was the game that influenced how we're doing UI in Frog's Tale because it solved the problem that I had where I wanted buttons to be able to come from anywhere on the screen and
yeah.
land anywhere on the screen. And that's really the only rhythm. Well, there's a bunch of rhythm games that do that, but Hatsune Miku is really
Hatsune
dynamic
Miku
in
goes
that sense.
ham.
I love that game. So that was a kind of a game changer for me the first time I got my hands on that game.
Have you ever played Final Fantasy Theatrhythm?
Yes, same gaming convention. I played that as well. That and the Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, I think are really cool. And like, I don't know, it's obvious they're trying to like add a little bit of side objective on top of just the rhythm elements, right? Like there's the characters there that are like defeating monsters or whatever.
Yeah, I love
There-
Theatrhythm, but it felt like it never got enough into the RPG side. It felt like it was just a rhythm game, if you know what I mean.
That's so. There's also like the Taiko drum RPGs, right? Where it's essentially just a rhythm game with like a RPG menus. I don't know. It's like you get into an encounter and you're still just playing an entire song chart, and
Yeah,
whether you do good enough is determines if you beat the enemy or not. And to me, that doesn't really seem like it's respecting the RPG side of the rhythm RPG, right? It's just kind of a reskin and a side objective to just playing the rhythm game.
yeah, it's
So
like a rhythm game, but numbers go up, level
exactly.
up.
So like trying to come up with a way that is more of an RPG and less of a rhythm game, but still it's weird, right? You have to strike a really really good balance if you don't want it to be gimmicky. Because
Yeah.
like it's a Frog's Tale has to be an RPG first and foremost. Like Mother 3 has the rhythm elements to it. It's not the entire game though. And it's like, yeah, we're doing a rhythm RPG and we have to keep it fresh and interesting for the duration of the whole game. How do you do that? You introduce more moves, more complex actions, whatever. So it has to have enough attention paid to it where it's worth pursuing as the main gameplay feature, right? But it
Yeah.
can't feel gimmicky and like it's just a rhythm game with a coat of paint slapped on top of it. You know what I mean? It's like the strategy still has to be there. The rhythm elements have to bolster the RPG gameplay that's already there.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the gif of the frog jumping on the pumpkins, and
Yes.
I think it's really interesting how the pumpkin actually breaks, revealing the enemy underneath. Is
Yeah, so
there? Oh,
we want to
sorry.
do other enemies hidden in there for sure. Because yeah, we think that'd be really cool, to say the least.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I really like it. In games like these, when the damage numbers and like HP numbers are low, because it feels much more impactful to go from 1 to 2 than from 1,000 to 1,001.
I agree. So Paper Mario games typically keep the numbers pretty low. Mario and Luigi games go a little bit higher, but still keeping them relatively low. But I don't know. You still want to feel like you're getting more powerful, right? So like doing 1 at the beginning of the game and then doing 20 at the end of the game is pretty significant.
Yeah,
Um, I agree, man. I feel like low numbers are the trend.
I think it's the feature.
But also at the same time, playing Maple Story and doing like 9 million damage also feels satisfying. What's another game like that? Disgaea has huge numbers.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's
I think
like
I played this guy. That game was neat.
really neat. And it's like just the sensation of a giant number flashing in front of your face is like a different kind of satisfying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 9999.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I don't know. It's I wouldn't say like the balance or like the numbers or anything are necessarily dialed in 100%. We're still like super early in dev. Cool thing is numbers are pretty easy to change.
Yeah, mechanics are not as much so.
No.
So I've been working on my own project. It's not anywhere close to your game. It's just like a little 3D platformer with basic blocks.
Hey,
But
that's awesome though.
I do feel like the coding side and like of the creation of indie games is really hard at the start when you're learning everything. Do you think it gets easier the more experience you get?
I don't do any of the coding, so I couldn't really tell you. That's why
Oh yeah.
I kind of purposefully stay a little ignorant when it comes to how all of the tech works. Um, I've tried to program like my entire life, and I always reach a ceiling where my brain just cannot really wrap my head around what I'm doing or the tutorials that I'm following.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I can't really touch on that, but as far as like understanding all the thought that goes into each gameplay decision, that definitely gets. I wouldn't say easier, but like talking to people that aren't game developers now versus a couple years ago, I can tell that I'm getting the game developer brain, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
I was sitting with some homies playing Grand Theft Auto the other day, and one of them goes, "Man, why can't they just have destructible buildings in this game?" And I'm like, dude, one, the cost is insane, and that's not really a huge deal with the Grand Theft Auto and their budget or whatever. But like the gameplay implications of everything being destructible in a game like Grand Theft Auto is so immense that that meeting probably lasted 5 minutes at Rockstar, right? Like, oh, we're not
Yeah.
doing destructible environments, right? Yeah, no, okay. Next.
Because the thing is, when you make destructible environments, you have to make each like variant, I think, right?
Every material has to react appropriately. It all has to have the right mass. It all, if it doesn't, it feels freaking weird. And then if it's like in Grand Theft Auto Online, you destroy a building that you're going to that hasn't quest or something. Now what? You wait around until it respawns, or it's just like
Yeah, I feel like
the
if you want to
questions are ignorant
add
in this game.
like something that major, you have to do it at the start, like with Spelunky.
You have to build the game around it, yeah. And it's like our mantra for Frog's Tale, and the thing that the team challenges me on is like I want to do all these things, right? Like swimming and like diving underwater and these cool gameplay features. And the team is always like, what is going to make this feature worth it in our game? Like, obviously, as a frog, it makes sense to be swimming and diving and stuff, but like, swimming sucks in most games. How do we make it fun? You
Yeah.
know, and like, are there enemies underwater? Can you swing your sword under? There's like so many questions, and it's like, is it worth spending $100,000 on this feature if it's going to be half-assed? No. So you have to think really hard about if a feature is even worth pursuing, right?
Wow. Yeah, there's so much that goes into a game. So
Well,
what's
like in
like
our Kickstarter trailer, you mentioned we have like the top-down view and then we have the side view. In that one, in the first moment where it shifts to battle, I wanted to do this battle transition where it shifts dynamically between the top-down view and the side view using some like fancy math and just warping assets and stuff. Um, the team challenged me on that so hard, and I'm like, listen, it's not that important of a feature, but I watched so many people react to our Wholesome Games trailer and the Kickstarter trailer, and so many people stop at that moment and say, "Whoa, that battle transition is sick. I've never seen anything like that." So I don't know. It's purely a cosmetic thing, right?
yeah.
But it's something that nobody's seen before. It's worth commenting on. It's something that people are going to share on Twitter with their friends. Does that justify the cost? I don't know. There's so many things like that where the team is like, what is the purpose of being able to jump into this little bell and the bell makes a sound? What's the purpose? And I'm like, really nothing. But it's important to me that this is a thing that happens because the people that play these types of games are also going to see value in it and comment on it. Like I enjoy those features in games, so I know the people that are going to be playing my game. I know my demographic. They're also going to see value in pointless features like that, right? New Kirby game just came out. The thing I saw the most people posting about that game on Twitter was the fact that you can wave to the Waddle Dees in Waddle Dee Town. Pointless feature, but it's by far the most like publicity out of any of the things I saw about that Kirby game.
Yeah, there's some things that are just like so satisfying in games. Like take for instance in GTA when you just go into a car and you can drive it around. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem like that much anymore, but it's like that's awesome, you know?
It's crazy.
That you could just
I don't
go
know.
in any car.
The more I get into like game dev and like appreciate how much thought and like effort goes into every feature, it's like for me, if your game is running and like all the assets are in and I can interact with things, it's already like so impressive to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it's like my bar for what's impressive has gone down just because I can appreciate all the time and stuff that goes into every little thing. Every game out there is someone's passion project, right? Most of them
Yeah.
anyway. You can't really say everyone, but I don't know, man. It's like all these I don't know, games that get a lot of hate. It's like they were most likely working against impossible budgets and deadlines and they had to put it out in the state that it was in, right? No one
Yeah.
wants to release a crappy game.
I feel like games nowadays, like a lot of the times indie developers will, they'll push out games in like early access and then the success from that will be able to propel them to finish their games, which I think is kind of amazing.
That is amazing. I wish like Core Keeper was an interesting one that came out. It's kind of like a Minecraft Stardew Valley type game. Came out in early access and is doing super well. Unfortunately, it doesn't work so well with like a single player RPG. Maybe there's a way to make it work, but I don't know if I can't. I can't see early access working for the type of game Frog's Tale is.
Yeah. Well, all games are different in their own way as well. So I'm glad
That's
your
true,
Kickstarter went well.
dude. Me too. It's I've been making music and stuff my entire life, and I've been working on Frog's Tale since, well, the game officially since 2019. You know, pretty isolated, just by myself, working on it for the most part and talking to the team. So it's very strange to all of a sudden be getting like a bunch of attention for it, you know, and having to keep up with like a growing community, because I'm not used to the social media management or the community management part of it. So it's quite a big shift in my day to day. I want to just kind of work on pixels and stuff, but
Yeah, you just want to make the game.
yeah,
And then there's all this other stuff with code and money and time.
gotta run a business, man.
So did you pop off when you saw that Donkey mentioned you?
Man, I mean, it was super interesting. It's a 1 second thing in there, but I'm curious, like, how many people. It'd be interesting to know the metrics, right? How many people saw our 1 second snippet in a donkey video and seeked us out from that. Pretty interesting in the comments too. One person being like, "Man, it's so good that Donkey's calling out all these indie games that are doing the same thing." And it's like, dude, like, you think I'm getting some like executive order from up top, being like, "All right, we gotta include a frog in this game. They're trending right now."
Alex Jones sponsored.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little unfortunate that 10 different frog games were unveiled in the same showcase, right? But it's not. I don't know if it's necessarily indicative of trends. It's just like the timing of, like, me personally. I've been making a game featuring my favorite animal for the last 2 years. Wholesome Games has been asking us to be involved in every one of their showcases for the last 2 years, and I've been like, not quite ready yet, not quite ready yet. Just so happened that when we are ready, there's 10 other frog games. Great, you know.
I feel like too, with the amount of indie games that are coming out and the amount of people that are, making their own thing, there's going to be a lot of parallel thought.
Yeah, and luckily there's people in the comments being like, dude, if you think having a frog in your game makes you similar to other games that have a frog, I got news for you. You know, like, look at how many games have guns in them. Look at how many games have jumping, and it's like, I don't know. It's really cool to be in a donkey video. Of course, I think it's unfortunate the way we are portrayed in the video, but it's still like cool. It's so strange, man. I've been
Yeah.
like watching all these showcases for years, and it's like being on the other side of it. When I was watching the showcase, it's like A Frog's Tale was a minute out of this hour-long wholesome game showcase, right? And I
Yeah.
put years of my life into this 1 minute, right? And for everybody else that watches this, it's just like a thing that they can skip past. And for me, I was reacting to the wholesome games thing on my stream, and I straight blacked out. Like, when our trailer came, like, I do not remember that moment at all because it was so surreal, right? Very strange, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something that is my entire life and my entire identity is just a passing minute for someone else.
It's crazy how many people are on this planet.
Mm, indeed.
Everyone's making their own thing or destroying something.
I mean, that's like what I really want everybody to do, right? Is like, I don't think I'm like the best game designer, the best pixel artist or whatever, but what I am doing is continuously investing in myself and my idea, right? Anybody can do that. Anybody can have a good idea, but you have to be able to execute it, right? So, like, you can be in my position being like, how do I get into the games industry? How do I do any of this? Have a plan, you know, approach it methodically. I had a plan where it was like, all right, I'm making the music first, use the music to bring an illustrator on board, use the illustration to bring the pixel artist on board, use the pixel art to bring the programmers on board. Very step by step. A very
Yeah.
patient boy waiting for everybody to be on board, right? Because I have no money. So it's like I had to save up money in order to talk to the pixel artist, and then wait another 6 months while I save up more money, and then talk to the programmers. As
There's
long
so
as you
much
are
that
like
goes into it.
confident about your idea and willing to work on it for more than a year, what, you know, as long as it takes to like see it through, anybody can do what I'm doing. And that's like, I don't know, man. I talk to so many friends that have cool ideas and then just don't do them for whatever reason. And I think it'd be like the coolest, we would live in the coolest world ever if everybody just got to act on their cool ambitions, you know?
Yeah.
And I understand that not everybody's in that place. I was kind of like the perfect storm of like COVID, losing my job, getting unemployment, being able to focus full time on this for years on, it's kind of like the perfect storm of events happening. And I feel very fortunate, very blessed to be in the
Yeah.
position that I am.
Well, that seems like a good note to end on. I wish you all the best of luck with Frog's Tale.
Dude, thank you. I wish you all the best of luck in your 3D platformer. You should send me any updates. I would love to check it out if
Oh,
you're
for
looking for
sure.
any feedback.
All right, outro time. If you enjoyed this episode of Choco Taco, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Check out the Frog's Tale Kickstarter. It is still active for 12 days. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.